and welcome everybody to another show, the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe at a special time at 12:30 to make sure that I had time to get back from graduation, which was canceled for this morning. So we'll be doing that on Friday morning because of the rain. But thankfully, our guests were lucky enough to go ahead and arrange their schedule to come out here. So we have State Representative Erica Crawley joining us today. Thank you very much, State Representative, for coming here today. And we have Charles Cochran from the Community Association. The thing that I talk about, all the different activities that we do in the city, he's going to talk more in detail of like an actual expert as opposed to just me. So we have a couple of quick announcements to start off. Just first one, obviously with the Memorial Day holiday, trash pickup will be delayed. So instead of your trash supposedly being picked up on Thursday, it will be picked on Friday, which the last month and a half, it's usually been picked up on Friday anyway. So now it'll probably be picked up on Saturday. So kind of keep that in mind and patience as we get Rumpke out there over the next couple of days. But with that, we're going to jump right in. I want to be respectful of the state representative's time. She's got bills to pass and budget meetings to yell at people about, all sorts of good things. State Representative Erica Crawley, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back with you. I appreciate it.
It's been an exciting time of the year. Obviously, the budget process is, I think the phrase is, it's like making sausage. No one really wants to know how to get to that point. They just want to know what it looks like at the very end of the things. Yes. So where are we at in the budget process for the state of Ohio?
Thank you for that question. So yeah, I think even for myself, I have learned way more about state government and financing than I had ever anticipated. But currently the budget is in the Senate. I don't know if people paid attention yesterday. There was a press conference and then some media released a couple of highlights for the bill. So they introduced their sub-bill yesterday to the budget. And then they are waiting for amendments. I think the deadline for amendments for the omnibus is Friday. And I think the thought is next week, they'll vote it out of Finance Committee over in the Senate and then on the floor the next day. And then it will come back to the House for Conference Committee the week after next. So the week of the 14th.
Well, I won't put you on the spot and ask you what the specific changes were, but I'm sure we'll kind of come up with a few of them as we go through. Now, specifically for you, I know that you've been working hard on addressing Medicaid expansion for postpartum care up to 12 months. I know that's a very important issue overall. I know that's something that you're a champion of. Can you tell everybody at home what you're trying to accomplish and how it's going to be beneficial for the people of Ohio?
Absolutely. So yes, it's something that I've been championing. I appreciate the Biden administration for putting it in the American Rescue Plan that states could extend postpartum care for pregnant women from 60 days, because normally after a pregnancy, you are covered for 60 days and then you would drop off. So now states can submit a state plan amendment if they had already had submitted an 1115 waiver to cover these Medicaid services. So now birthing people can be covered from all the way up until 12 months, so a year after. And why this is important is because Ohio has one of the worst infant mortality rates in the country when it comes to Black babies. And we know that when it came to our pregnancy-related deaths in the state from 2012 all the way to 2016, over half of the pregnancy-related deaths, 57%, were considered to be preventable. So things like the leading causes were hemorrhage and hypertension, things that could be addressed that may have come up. Hypertension may have come up in the pregnancy and then has continued after, and it has been a direct cause of death. Those complications tend to come up, and not all the time, but they can arise and become very serious after that 60 days has passed. And so it is very important that we continue to have coverage to address complications that may arise. But then also we know for birthing people who are new to parenthood, postpartum depression is a real thing. I suffered from it myself. And so we want to make sure that coverage is still available, as well as those who suffer from substance use disorder. We know that especially during the pandemic, substance use disorder has increased, as well as overdoses have increased. And so we want to make sure, and that is something that had been covered in Ohio, but we want to make sure that that continues to be covered covered all the way up until 12 months. And we just have coverage in general postpartum all the way up until 12 months. And so that will help address some of the pregnancy-related deaths as well as infant mortality. But it also, really helps with our disparities if we couple it with other policy positions like Medicaid reimbursement for doulas, which would be covered under after postpartum, or as well as Save Our Mothers Act. So if we become an AIM state, AIM stands for Alliance for Innovation in Maternal Health, where hospitals can adopt patient safety bundles, which specifically addresses these complications that arise. And so when we couple Medicaid expansion to 12 months postpartum with these other policies, we would see a significant decrease in our deaths between infants and women.
Well, the struggle of postpartum is familiar to a lot of people out there, and it's something that a lot of times what we see in the worst instances of where a mother, for whatever reason or not, there's an infant death involved. And the question was, did you even realize what you were doing? Did you realize what the symptoms were? And to the outside person looking in, everything looks fine, everything's cheery. I love motherhood and all of that. But in the reality is the struggles that are there that are just hidden from the view. And then it ends up, unfortunately, usually on a nighttime television show and one of those stories that you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. So thank you for your efforts in that regard. To go on to a slightly less important in terms of the longevity of life, one of the other questions that has come up frequently, specifically when it comes to school funding, is the sports betting bill. Now, I know that the Senate, I think, is the one that has actually taken the lead on this one. Has the House actually had anything specifically for sports betting yet?
Not this General Assembly. So like you said, the Senate has introduced a version, I believe it's Senate Bill 176. Representative Kelly and Representative Greenspan were the champions over in the House last General Assembly. Some people are familiar with Representative Greenspan lost his seat to Representative Monique Smith, so he is no longer in the House. And I know that Representative Kelly is trying to determine whether she would introduce a companion bill to the Senate, which is a little different from the House. And just a couple of highlights when it comes to that is, so last General Assembly, it was House Bill 194. It has education differences between the former House bill and the current Senate bill. The House bill created a sports gaming profits education fund for theater, arts, music, speech, and debate, athletics, and other extracurricular activities. The Senate version creates the sports gaming profits education fund to be used only for K through 12 education, and that's vague. It doesn't say, specifically, how those funds can be used. And then, so it could create some ambiguity when it comes to how those funds can be used, and, how districts are supposed to go about, or plan for this type of revenue.
The Senate being vague on education spending? I'm shocked.
But they have been very detailed. Yeah, they have been very detailed when it comes to the school funding formula, which I'm sure you probably will ask me about given your, time in the classroom and advocating for children.
Yeah, that one's coming. Without commenting specifically on sports betting in general, I know one of the ideas out there is that, online sports betting is coming to the state of Ohio. It's just a matter of how it's going to be there. And then what would those funds come from? I'm a big proponent that if they do come through, that they should go through the lottery system. So that way the funds can be distributed equally throughout the entire state as far as the educational purposes of it. But I also want to caveat in there at some point in time saying that this doesn't mean that the General Assembly, no offense, can take existing funds out of the education pocketbook and move it somewhere else. And these funds would just simply replace it for a net zero gain. I think it's got to be things that are in addition to, and I know that that's something that you and I have talked about too, with some of those issues.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, sports gaming already kind of happens. It's, under the table, it shouldn't. And so we just want to make sure that people, if you are going to do it, you can do it legally and that it will be to the benefit of our children with the revenue that would come in. So I don't want to say or have people think that it's not already happening, because it does, unfortunately, but we want to make sure that if it is, it's going to benefit our children.
I can't imagine anybody betting in any offices anywhere about March Madness brackets or anything like that. I'm sure that never happens that often every time.
Ever.
No, ever. I do want to talk about something that you and I have also spent some time talking about, specifically when it comes to the needs to address domestic violence. You mentioned earlier that the pandemic has caused an uptick in overdoses and substance abuse. And one of the other things that has happened is an uptick in the amount of domestic violence. You know, our chief of police, when we were going through our 2020 year in review, one of the things that we noticed was an increase in domestic violence calls. And that kind of prompted a number of different discussions that you and I have had about, all right, so how can we actually tangibly address that issue? What can we do to find a way to get people and victims of domestic violence out of the situation that they're in? Because a lot of times the victims are stuck in where they're at because of any number of ideas. So what are some of the things that you're working on that you would like to see in the next budget, hopefully if it gets through all the process, that cities like Reynoldsburg and other communities all the way throughout that have seen this increase in domestic violence victims can take advantage of?
Absolutely. And so I do want to say when it comes to domestic violence, there has been an uptick, but that uptick in cases have been around strangulation. And I have specifically asked, like, why during COVID is strangulation like the thing? And so I don't have a definitive answer, but, things happen. People are arguing in the heat of the moment. We also know that domestic violence contributes to infant mortality as well, and the loss of pregnancy. And so there are two things in this current budget, which I hope the Senate has kept in. I haven't had an opportunity to look at all of the Senate changes because there are a number of them, but that domestic violence money is in. We were able to increase it. I think originally in the governor's budget, it was $1 million, and then we were able to increase it, I want to say by $1.5 million. I think the ask for domestic violence organizations were somewhere around $4 million. So if the Senate did make some changes, I hope it was increased investment. There was investment as well in rape crisis centers. And so, we want to continue to see that. And there probably is, I don't know the dollar figure, but ARPA dollars, so American Rescue Plan dollars that will flow down to organizations. What I would like to see happen, and I know there are, cities as well as police departments or law enforcement agencies who are looking at partnering with grassroots organizations that, work with these domestic violence organizations to have a program like Cahoots. So if you look at Oregon, Portland, and some other cities in the state, they have a Cahoots program, and I can't remember exactly what Cahoots stands for, but it is the organization that works with law enforcement to go in and address more specifically homelessness, domestic violence incidents. So it's not just law enforcement going there when somebody might be experiencing a mental health crisis, but they're also addressing those other needs that don't necessarily need law enforcement to be the primary voice in that situation. And so what I would like to see is funds be available, whether it's a grant or the ability to start up pilot programs for like a city of Reynoldsburg to work with the city, law enforcement, and local organizations to address not just domestic violence, but also mental health crisis, or, similar to Westerville, where you had 2 police officers come out because of a domestic violence situation and someone who was suffering from a mental health crisis. And then 2 law enforcement officers unfortunately lost their lives. We do not want there to be a loss of life, but we also want someone who can, like, law enforcement officers can't do everything and they're not knowledgeable about everything. So we want them to, when we look at policing in general, we want to make sure that there are organizations who are better suited to do that, go out and address these issues, have the opportunity to, but we know it takes funding. And so I hope that we can, get funding for cities and townships to partner with their law enforcement agencies to bring on an organization like that.
I know I've made a commitment here in Reynoldsburg, and as you know, we're in the process of hiring a dedicated social worker to kind of pick up those pieces that our officers don't have as much experience on. Our officers are amazing. They do a great job out there every day, but they're trained to be police officers. It's what happens after that initial contact that sometimes they don't have that kind of skill. And so if you have a dedicated social worker, or in this case, other programs that are out there that can partner up to help with mental health crisis, to help with drug addiction, to help with domestic violence, that is something that's there. And that the moment that those grants become available, City Attorney Chris Shook and I will be right at those doorsteps, ready to go ahead and submit and ask for that stuff, because I think it's a much needed thing. And I do, again, applaud your efforts on that one. All right, now I got to go to the downside of everything. Can you tell me what's the problem with the Senate? And I know you can't really, but I'm looking at the Senate bill yesterday because that's just what I do on my spare time. And I'm looking at the difference in education funding. And we had a House bill that passed last year in a completely bipartisan manner, over 80 votes, Republican, Democrat, didn't make a difference. A long-term 3-year plan to figure out what it actually costs to educate children, to actually solve the funding crisis that has been in the state of Ohio since DeRolf in the late 1990s. And you have the plan, it's right there, and it becomes something else. You know, I'm not going to put you on the spot on that one. I think the Senate dropped the ball considerably. I'm ashamed that they feel that the solution that was a bipartisan effort is different to go with special interests. But that's just me saying it. So for those of you that are mad about that, you can bring the emails to me. It's not Representative Crawley. She's perfectly fine with being more diplomatic than I am. Depending on what happens, so let's say the Senate comes up with whatever version is, it passes out of committee, and then that debate will then start within the House and the Senate to kind of come up to a conciliation bill. Is there a possibility of almost a melding, you know, of the best of both worlds, where you take some of the Senate and some of what the House bill was, or or the bill's just so far and drastically different that's going to be a major obstacle to kind of find that common ground?
Yeah, so no, I think you put it very mildly when you say that the Senate dropped the ball on this.
I don't want to bother Chuck because he's not used to this part of everything. So.
Well, sorry, Chuck, but yeah, so I think they dropped the ball here as well as in other places that will affect funding. So one thing is the House version, House Bill 305 did pass last year. We had House Bill 1. That was a standalone bill with Representative Sweeney and Representative Callender that got rolled into the budget. And so they did make some concessions already. So for when it comes to salaries, I think, you know, at Choice and or when it came to community schools, the investment was somewhere around 94 or 96%. Now they're at 100%. Same as public teachers. But they did make some significant changes when it comes to, they have replaces the Fair School Funding Plan with one that uses the previous KSIC formula for wealth determination and distribution. They changed the per pupil amount. They decreased it from $6,100 to $6,020. It changed it from the KSIC formula, the district wealth levels at which the state share index increases, but keeps the KSIC formula determination of a district's wealth. It does not include a robust income capacity factor. And it removes the school bus purchase grants, and it eliminates the cap on EdChoice performance-based scholarships. The current law is $60,000 for vouchers per year. It eliminates the limit on income-based EdChoice expansion vouchers, which were limited by law by the appropriation in the line item that it currently is. And it changes some administrative features when it comes to EdChoice. So we see that this is more around EdChoice, vouchers. We also know that the people who have been working on this are against public education in general. They're not favorable. And so it's unfortunate. I think there still are caps and guarantees when it comes to the formula. So it may be more of the same, completely different what we sent over to them. And we knew that there was going to be changes for EdChoice and vouchers. And so they wanted to leave some room for that. But I will also say, I want to say when it comes to all funds, so it cuts GRF by $486 million in FY22, and then by 211.9 million in FY23 over the House. All funds are cut by 1.4 billion in FY22 and 563 million in FY23. And so when we look at just economically disadvantaged students, which we have 1.7 million students in the state, over 50% of them are economically disadvantaged, and we're already decreasing the per pupil amount, which where it wasn't probably enough for the economically disadvantaged, because they were going with a per pupil foundation of those that weren't economically disadvantaged, had no disabilities, were not gifted. And so we know that having a decrease definitely will not get us to where we need to be. So
well, it's unfortunate, and you and I could probably talk for another hour and a half and say some choice words that we shouldn't share on Facebook on this particular topic. It's just unfortunate that that a lot of work that was done in a bipartisan manner has kind of been pushed away for other interests. And I'm all for the debate, but I know Reynoldsburg, specifically just Reynoldsburg alone, loses about $5.5 million a year just for being Reynoldsburg. We hit our cap number, just a little over 6,000 students. We are now approaching around 8,000 students. So for every new person that moves into the city of Reynoldsburg, we get no additional funding. For those of you that have not heard me say this ad nauseum on here, and that's not right. That's not the way it should be. There's a cost to education. There's a cost to servicing our pupils, and this was done in the best manner possible on all sides. And it's disappointing. I hope that there's ways to kind of figure that out.
I will say, I know we have to end, but there is direct funding for charter schools, so it no longer impacts. But also the 5% tax cut doesn't help because that's a loss of revenue that could be going to school. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, anything, all right, so take away all of that other stuff because let's end on a high note. So obviously, do you have anything else from the State House that's going on? anything that you were able to, something good that's going on at the State House, or anything going, anything?
So one thing, Medicaid expansion did get in the budget, and also when it comes to publicly funded childcare, which we know is a big issue as parents try to get back to work, was increased. It's currently 130%. It goes to, the governor introduced 138, the Senate bumped it up to 142, 142% of the poverty guidelines, and disabled students are still at 150. So we appreciate the increase. It's still not where we want it to be, but that's where it is. And so I would say that's the only thing. Larry Householder, it is a bipartisan push to try to expel him, which we know has been a dark cloud on the legislature, that we have someone who has been indicted for one of the largest corruption schemes here in the state to the tune of $61 million around House Bill 6. I think we're trying to bring some resolution and restore the public's trust in the legislature so people will know that we are working for them and not special interests, at least when it comes to House Bill 6.
Well, I appreciate your efforts in that. I know that you have, do you have graduation plans? Are we at that point yet? Or no. Your daughters are still 1 year away?
They're still 1 year away, but I am looking forward to attending graduations for our seniors, and they should expect a letter in their mailbox, Reynoldsburg, Groveport, and Columbus for graduating.
It's going to be here sooner than we know it. So, well, best of luck to you. I'm sure we will talk again soon. Thank you so much for joining us. You're, of course, welcome to stay, but I know you're busy and you've got a lot of things to attend to. So you're more than welcome to go ahead and log off. But again, if anybody has any questions, you're more than happy to reach out to Erica Crawley's office. She's very responsive. She's got a great staff. They answer my emails almost immediately, which is awesome because that's not always the case when people are emailing around. So thank you so much again for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, so moving away from all of that, we're going to go ahead and shift over to the Community Association. So thank you so much for putting up with me ranting about school funding. That's kind of a rite of passage here with the show, but we'll ignore that for now. First of all, I'm happy that you're here. So we're here. There's no barrier between us. We're vaccinated. We're all good with that. That's great. And we got some fun things coming up this summer, don't we?
We do. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So kick us off with the fun thing. We'll talk about the 4th of July parade.
Okay. So we are very excited to have the 4th of July parade back this year. Because the 4th of July falls on a Sunday, the parade will actually be held on the 3rd, which is Saturday. And we'll step off at 10 o'clock. We'll start staging the parade at 9 o'clock on Rose Hill Road. So we're very excited to have the parade back. Applications are available either at the city's Parks and Recs website, or you can go to RCA's website, which is reynca.org, and pull up an application. School groups or Boy Scout, Girl Scout groups, any groups that are nonprofit or that have a 501c3, there's no charge for. And then this year, we recognize that, what a difficult past year it's been for all of us, and in particular our business community, who it supports us tremendously in order to allow us to be able to do these events. And so to honor our business community this year, we've indicated that any of our businesses that would like to participate this year can participate at no charge. So if you're a business out there that would like to participate in the parade, there's no charge, simply fill out the application.
There you go. And that's a huge thing. It's a small cost, but it's one of those things that helps those business communities get out there. But you're still charging the politicians, right?
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. Still charging the politicians. Now, the 4th of July parade is not it's not a city event. We assist you with it when it comes to making sure the roads are blocked off and things like that. So it's provided by the community association. So can you tell everybody that's out there, what exactly is the Reynoldsburg Community Association?
Yeah. So the Community Association was formed in 2007. Our first event actually was the 4th of July Parade in 2008. And our mission is to enhance the quality of life of Reynoldsburg residents by providing community events and activities. So we sponsor events in the community, the 4th of July Parade. We sponsor the community Halloween party that's held every year. And we sponsor the Christmas on the Town event that's held every year in Old Town Reynoldsburg. That is done, of course, as you indicated, in partnership. We couldn't do it without our city partners. So we're grateful for that partnership with the city, and particularly our Parks and Recs department. And as I indicated earlier, from our business community, who makes in-kind or financial donations to our organization to allow us to do those things. So.
Well, it's been great. For a long time, we've done, the Christmas on the Town. There was 2 years ago, the last Christmas on the Town that we had, the weather was perfect. It was beautiful out. It was not too hot, not too cold. The parade went off without a hitch, and people were out. The year before that, I think people were drowning. I think there was a lot of rain that particular year, so just kind of flip a coin on how that goes. But you were able to do it. The Halloween festival is great. Everybody, as everybody knows, Halloween's my favorite. So we get to dress up in costumes on purpose, and that's a good one. So, and then obviously the 4th of July itself is great, just to be able to be out there. So anything else that you want to tell us about the Community Association for people who might be interested in volunteering, that want to join, that want to help out, anything like that? Do you want to share any of that with our?
Sure. So we're an all volunteer organization. There's no charge to be a part of our organization. We meet the second Thursday of every month. My name's Chuck Cochran. I'm the president. Actually, my cell phone number is 614-580-7218. So you can give me a call. Obviously, during the pandemic, we were doing some Zoom meetings and team meetings. We're hoping to be able to come back to face-to-face, but at 6:30 the second Thursday of every month, we'd love to have you, if you're interested and want to volunteer and help out, we'd love to have you come be a part of that meeting. And it can be anything from, I enjoy planning and organizing community events, to I just want to, be a parade marshal, or I just want to help out at the Halloween party or Christmas on the Town. So, you can kind of decide how involved or engaged you want to be. We do tell everybody that it is a lifetime commitment. So once you sign up, you can never leave, but.
It's like the mob, basically. That's what this is. Yeah. No, but it's talk about a great way to give back to your community. It's not something that, there's a lot of things that you can do, but this is something that when you're giving back to the community association, what you're really doing is giving to the community as a whole. The amount of time that you and other members of the commission give up when it comes to the 4th of July or the Halloween or Christmas on the Town, not just in the planning, but if you were to just take the time, just the day of the events themselves, you're looking at a huge commitment from you. So on behalf of the city and everybody, we thank you for all that you do for you and your organization, because without that, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of these fun things that we do. And this year, I think, is going to be a little bit more special than in previous years because of what we lost last year. The canceling, and you and I, we talked last year beforehand, and we were trying to figure out a way, how can we maneuver around the safety guidelines and the mask mandates and all of this stuff? And I mean, and we were as close to possible as getting there. We couldn't figure out a way to do it. And this year we decided that based on the recommendations earlier in the year that we're going for it. And, come heck or high water, this is what we're doing. And thankfully all the restrictions have been kind of kicked out. And so now it becomes a little bit easier to do some things, but we're still going to be safe. We're still going to be respectful of everybody, but we're also still going to pass out candy because let's be honest, that's what we're there for. So we'll have those types of things. I know the city is looking forward to a little bit more participation. This year, we're actually going to have, I believe we're going to have at least 3 floats, but we're not going to tell you what they are yet. But we're going to have 3 floats, and we're going to try and see if we can have some of our cooler trucks and things like that to actually participate in it, and bring back a little bit of that city pride in there as well. So we're really looking forward to it. Is there anything else you want to share? I know you've got some pictures and things like that we can show everybody if anybody wants to see anything.
Let's see here. Just picture of the parade.
There we go.
And then while we're just giving dates out, we plan a year ahead. So for the, excuse me, the community Halloween party actually will be held on October 16th this year, a Saturday, from 6 to 9 in the evening at JFK Park. So while you're marking your calendars. And then our Christmas on the Town event is also the first Saturday in December. And so that will be December the 4th this year. So we're excited. And as I said, if you're interested in getting that parade application, please, get on the city's website or get on RCA website and fill that out and get that sent in to us.
All right, you got one more event. You can't stop without saying the next event. Come on, I see the picture.
Oh, yes.
You gotta put this out.
So every year, one of our major fundraisers is we have a Valentine's dinner. My wife is Italian, and so we make spaghetti and meatballs from scratch. And so that's always a very well attended, and we appreciate the support that we get from the community because that allows us as well to be able to put on these community events. So you can look for that around February of 2022, I guess it would be.
I had to throw that in there because I've been there a number of times. It's always good. They've had door prizes in the past. Usually it's a great place to see community members. And I know Messiah on Wagner Road has hosted the last few years. Right. So I wasn't going to let you get away without talking about that one, because that's a great way. That's how this organization earns a lot of the money to fundraise for some of the activities, and more importantly, the candy that you get at the 4th of July parade, or some of the prizes you get at the community, the Halloween festival and things like that. So do we have any questions from our viewers? Tell me Sarah Reed's watching. She has to say something on there, doesn't she?
Sarah doesn't have a comment on there yet. Maybe now she will. But could you maybe address how they can reach you? Are you on Facebook? If they want to connect to the meetings, what's the best way to get information about the community association?
Well, probably that cell phone number that I gave out. They can just call me directly, and I'll get their information and touch base there.
Do you have an email that I know for the community association as well?
We don't have an email. My personal email, I'll give that out. It's bucknutchuck@aol.com.
It's Ohio State fan. Maybe we'll put that up on the site a little bit later, just for those people that want to volunteer. Because I, as much as you guys do, I'm sure you could appreciate just a few extra bodies to help out every now and then. So no, I appreciate it. That's a good question. Anything else for right now? All right. Well, you're not allowed to go anywhere because you're my first guest in person, so you have to listen to me the whole rest of the show. We got a lot of things going on over the next couple of weeks, so we're going to start off talking about our community cleanup dates. We normally would do a community cleanup the first weekend in June, but because of COVID, we weren't able to secure a shredded truck and things like that. So we're going to push it, and we're going to have an exciting day here at City Hall in October. October 16th in the morning, we're going to have the community cleanup, and then at the evening, we're going to have the Halloween festival. So for those of us that live at City Hall anyway, we're going to be here. It won't be any different, except I'll be in costume. But we're going to do a litter cleanup this year, starting this Saturday. And what we're going to do is we're going to offer the opportunity to get some gift cards for everybody. So we've got Wendy's, Nothing But Cakes, Ohio Select, Raider Nutrition, Starstruck, and Canes. And what you're going to do is you're going to go around and you're going to pick up litter. You can pick up a bag of litter. You can pick up 20 bags of litter. Really, it's up to you. Take a picture of yourselves and submit it to the city. And then you're going to be entered into a drawing to win one of those prizes. So if you want to take a time to go to Civic Park, JFK, Livingston, if your road, Taylor Road, whatever road it is that you feel and you want to get out there and do it, that's fine. You don't get more entries if you have like 10 bags versus 1 bag. It's really the important thing is getting out and doing it. We've tried in the city to do a better job of getting out there. When the weather is nice, whenever spring actually happens in Ohio, to get out there and pick some of that litter up. But it's just an opportunity to kind of clean the community up at that time. We also have our garage sale weekends that are coming up as well, which you do not need a permit for. So if you're ready to go ahead and continue on that spring cleaning from the last year and a half and have a garage sale, you can do that as well. We kind of keeping on the theme of some of the community events, we do have our fireworks, and yes, they are on, and you're going to start seeing a lot more of the posts for that. It's going to be Friday, July 2nd, where gates are going to open up at 6:30 at Civic Park. There's going to be limited space, so make sure you get there and get your parking space early, but we're going to have those fireworks on. We're going to have a live band playing, so we can have some music, and we're going to have a couple of food trucks out there as well. So kind of keep that in mind. So we've got a lot of things going on. Parade we've already talked about. I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of food trucks, though, it's actually today's the first day for Food Truck Wednesday at Memorial Plaza, which is at the corner of Lancaster and Main Street. Every Wednesday between now and pretty much the end of September, you're going to have a different food truck there. I can't remember that. I know it's tacos because that's really all that matters. Yeah. It's Taco Wednesdays.
Taco Wednesdays.
We're all in the pattern of saying Taco Tuesday, but it's Taco Wednesday today at Memorial Plaza. So come in between the raindrops and go out to Memorial Plaza and pick those up. We'll have a schedule up on the website so you can kind of see the street food vendors who's going to be out there over the next couple of Wednesdays to see that. And for the one person who I know that asked about Schmitz, don't worry, Schmitz is coming. They're going to be here for the farmers market, correct? So if they get Schmitz they're so good that they get their own specific, they get their exclusive farmers market cream thing. Puffs. It's a cream puffs. That's what I'm there for. Yeah, I'm there for it all the way. So farmers markets will start next Thursday. So keep that in mind. It's at JFK Park. It'll be pretty much like what it looked like last year. It's a great location, but we're going to have our farmers market back here next Thursday. And we also have our music in the cul-de-sac or court, depending on which version you want to use. That's going to start up this week. The location, I believe, is off Taylor Mills Court this year. So we're going to have Ruvain. He's the author of our theme song for this show, is going to be out there, and he's going to be performing in the music in the court. But you can see those every Thursday through the month of June and July. We're going to have a different part of town with some different music all the way around for everybody to go ahead and take a listen to. And unlike last year, where it was kind of like a hint and a surprise, we've already put out where the streets are. So if you want to, make your plans to get out there, make sure you go and again, sit with the community, listen to some good music and see what goes from there. So we also have our big artist and makers market. If you have been like a lot of people, I know you're looking at our Facebook page, seeing all the different potential options to buy some things at our artist and makers market. I know that my wife has gotten a list of things already, so I'm sure we'll be there sometime on Saturday in between graduation parties to go ahead and take a look at the artist and makers market. But again, that's at the Livingston House from 11 to 6 p.m. So make sure you get out there and take a look at that for some local wares and things, again, just to get out. We also have our second annual Juneteenth celebration. Thank you to Councilwoman Meredith Lawson-Rowe for putting on what is an ever-growing community event here. Basically, it's in recognition of the end of slavery, and this is a celebration that will be brought about, kicked off with a 5K walk and run that will go through parts of JFK and Huber Park and things like that, away from all the ball games. So we've got that going on, and then you have performances and some speeches and some other things going on between 12 and 3. The African American Wellness Initiative will be there doing some health screenings so people can make sure that they're as healthy as possible before they go to the food trucks and, celebrate how healthy they are with some good food truck food after that. So we thank you for that. And again, Councilwoman Shanette Strickland as well for helping to organize the 5K. I am not going to be participating, but I will be one of the directors out there telling everybody where to go. So that's going to be a good thing for that. My 5K days are behind me. We do have a couple of other cool things. The Reynoldsburg Historical Society is having their Max and Irma's fundraiser on Wednesday, June 23rd from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you want some more information, you can go to the Historical Society Facebook page and take a look at that and get the flyer out there. But a portion of your proceeds from that night will go to the Historical Association, which is always a good thing to take care of. We have the Reynoldsburg Education Foundation Mulligan Golf Tournament that's starting this Sunday from this Sunday to Friday. It's $90 per golfer, or you can actually donate to the Reynoldsburg Education Foundation, which helps create funds for scholarships and other things to help kids maybe that have a little less money to go on, say, your 8th grade field trip to Washington, D.C., assuming that they come back next year. That is something that's there, and some other scholarship opportunities. So thank you to President Debbie Dunlap for getting that organized and out there and partnering with Heart Food Pantry for that golf tournament. Are you a golfer by any chance?
I am.
Okay. Are you any good?
No.
Okay. Well, then there we go. I've yet to find somebody that says, well, yes, I am good. I think we all have like 1 or 2 shots a day, and then like, that's it. That's when that's all we need to do. The Reynoldsburg Wrestlers are also having a golf outing July 24th. It's a Safari Golf Club. It's shotgun style. It's $100 per player, $400 per team to go ahead and increase some of the funding that we have for the wrestling group out there. So keep that in mind. We do have some great blessing boxes, one located in front of City Hall. Again, while we are excited with the end of school, and obviously there's still things out there where our community is in need. And so if you have the opportunity to donate any non-perishable items to any of the blessing boxes in Reynoldsburg, please do so. The Facebook page, Reynoldsburg Blessing Boxes, is out there, and usually they have a really good update of what boxes need a little bit more love and care and which ones are pretty much okay at that point in time. So go ahead and make sure those non-perishable food items are out there. Any questions so far from our? You're gonna let Chuck off that? All right, I see how it is. I see how it is. All right, that's fine. So we're back to our regular scheduled time next week at 12 o'clock, because I don't think graduation is going to get canceled again for that many more days. So we'll be back here next week at 12 o'clock, and we are going to continue our tradition here lately of having some elected officials. We have State Senator Tina Maharath, who will be joining us. And we are also kicking off some nonprofit activities, like the Community Association today. We will have Heart Food Pantry President Cheryl Wooten will be joining us to talk a little bit more about Heart Food Pantry and its mission and where they're at, and what a valuable service to the community is for that. So we're looking forward to those things. Any last second questions? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, again, Chuck, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. It was nice to see you in person, live, and I'm looking forward to being out there on the parade route. And we're going to get better weather than today, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Chuck said we're getting better weather, and that's what's going to be there. So thank you all for joining us today. Again, if you have any questions, feel free and email us. Otherwise, we'll see you out there. Stay safe, respectful, and as always, put away your shopping carts. We'll see you. Thanks, everybody.